Well, hello there, friends. It's Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us for another episode of GPS and Friends. Tonight, we come to you with big dreams. The big dreams of two fantastic musicians and human beings, Nirmala and Shruthi Rajasekar, mother and daughter team. They're going to share with us more about life in the Indian classical music style, particularly the Carnatic music from South India. And then Shruti will talk more about her journey into Western classical music and the dreams that they have for each of us to just acknowledge the goodness that's within us and to follow the universe's lead into being the best that we can be. And with that in mind, I just want to invite you to, you know the routine here in the ritual, to just center yourself, lengthen your spine, exhale and inhale. And in honor of Nirmala and Shruti, would you just take your hands here? They would say namaste. And it's just acknowledging that the light and the goodness within me acknowledges the light and the goodness within you. So we're in for a treat tonight. Let's get right to the music.
Jaya 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 Samagana Vinola Sadhu Jana Paripalaka Vitat Kirti Samjata Samagana Vinola Sadhu Jana Paripalaka Vitat Kirti Samjata Soma Surya Prakash Sakala Lokadisha Shri Maharaguvira Sindhu Gambira Jaya Jaya Sakala Shastra Vichara Sharanu Jala Mandara Vikasitambuja Varana Vishwamaya Sadana Sakala Shastra Vichara Sharanu Jala Mandara Vikasitambuja Varana Vishwamaya Sadana Sukrita Moksha Diksha Saketa Puravasa Bhakta Vatsala Rama Purandara Vitala Purandara Vitala Jaya 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 Jana Kirtanta Jaya Sadhu Jana Vinuta Jaya Tumani Mananda Jaya Bhagavanta Jaya 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 Janaki
Nirmala, Shruti, thank you for being with us. How are you today?
Thanks for having us. We're doing really, really well. Namaste to you.
It was so beautiful to hear you both perform together. Please
Thank
tell
you
us
so
some
much.
about that piece.
That first piece is a vocal number from the great-grandfather of Carnatic music, Purandaradasa. So it was composed somewhere in the 13th, 14th century, and it has a very interesting 5/4 rhythm, if I may call it that. But it's basically 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, and it's written in the language Sanskrit. So that piece is a really beautiful one, and one of the first pieces Shruti learned from me many, many years ago when she was just TA tall. And we just thought we would start the concert with that melody, which is also a very, very beautiful Indian classical melody called the Raga Nate. Melodies have the prefix Raga, and rhythms have the prefix Tala. So this is in Khanda Chapu, that is the 5-beat rhythm. And to identify the name of the melody, it's the Raga Nate. Shruti, you want to add something?
Yes, and the name of the composition is Jaya 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 Janaki, and we just sang a short excerpt of it. Most Indian classical compositions are at least 5 minutes in length, and concerts can go on for several hours. So we just gave a little taster.
Yeah, our cultures have something in common. If you were to go to my home faith tradition, a church, that service could last 2, 3 hours. And songs just keep going and going and going. And so there's something about, I'll just use the term non-Western classical music, just to be generic. There's something about that improvisation and that freedom to let the piece evolve and develop that is heard around the world. Thank you for sharing so much about Carnatic music and giving us a description of the rhythmic foundation and the melodic content. Let's talk a little more about, the principles of Carnatic music. I especially understand that mentors play a large role in the development of each individual musician.
Wow, that's a loaded question, and thank you, Philip, for asking. The reason I say that is a 2,000-year-old art form that I have only been privy for 50 odd years. Well, I shouldn't even say 50 because I began at 6, so less than 50 years. But there's so much to learn of, lifetimes of learning. The system itself is very clear. Everything, all songs are created in a melodic texture, this texture and that's called the raga. And all the songs are created with a rhythmic side to it, which is called the tala. So these are the two essential elements of Carnatic music. And as far as my training goes, as I said, it's a very age-old tradition. And the tradition is passed on from the teacher to the student. And then the student, after several years of learning, many, many decades sometimes, becomes the teacher and passes on this oral tradition through the ages. And it is amazing how something that is 2,000 years old, and according to some historians, 5,000 years old, has survived with just this, student becoming the teacher and the master passing on this oral tradition.
I love hearing about I'll call it standing on the shoulders of, forefathers and foremothers, the way that you pass the tradition down, this oral tradition. But what's really beautiful about it is everyone assumes this role of first I am learning, then it's my role to carry the tradition forward. It's this beautiful circle. And Shruthi, I'm curious as to how you entered into this journey. Did you learn first from your mother or did you learn from others? How did you come on this journey?
Thank you for that question, Philip. I've actually always studied with my mother from the start. And I guess I was probably exposed to the music from the womb, would be my guess. My lessons, as they were, sort of began between the ages of 4 and 6, but they were sort of intermittent. And actually where I learned the most was just listening. So mom would teach other students in the basement, and I used to go sit at the top of the staircase and just listen, just wanted to hear what was going on. Even though I was doing a few lessons here and there, I actually just really formally started around the age of 9. That's when I was, in a proper class with the textbooks and with all the materials. But I actually was able to join the advanced class at that point because I'd been listening to the exercises going on and kind of singing and humming along.
And I imagine there are many moments of spontaneous music making and joy in your household growing up.
Yes.
It was, I don't know what to say, because Shruthi, I remember Shruthi when she was barely a year old, not even a year. I used to work a lot with the Ragamala Dance Theater. I used to sing with them, and we were doing a particular show at that time. And I still remember her standing with her cute little chubby little feet, because she's hardly 1 year old, barely able to stand, but trying to dance like those dancers, but singing the entire line that I sang, which was quite a complicated line, but very well, with no mistakes. And I think the right environment makes such a big difference. You give them the environment and the osmosis just happens. So, which is why they say young children are like sponges, just take everything. So we just got to be careful about what we are telling them.
But
Right.
on that note, I have to say, I think there's a particular way mom curated the environment, which was just so warm and welcoming and allowing any idea that I came up with as a 6, 7-year-old, any of the I remember I wrote like a 3-note song at age 6, and so proudly I was showing this thing to the seasoned master artist, but she was encouraging that. She wanted to hear it. She wanted to see where it was going.
That's beautiful to hear that you created that environment, Nirmala. And I'm curious about your own environment growing up. What role did music play in your household as a child?
That's a great question. I'm thinking about my grandpa, who was would have been 108 last weekend. And he was the reason, 6 feet tall and 5 feet of nothing now. I was even littler as a child. He would hold my hand and take me to music lessons because the entire family was addicted to listening. So my parents, of course, were very happy that I got to play the veena. But it fascinated me, the dragon head on one side and going to class. And the first week was hard. I still remember telling my grandpa, I really don't want to go because all my friends were playing at that time outside in the playground. And I had to go to class. But then grandpa gave me 10 paise, which is like 10 cents, that was a little bribe. But after the first week, I said, you don't have to give me this tata. That's what we call grandpa, because I love going to class. I really don't want your 10 paise. So that was a big decision for me to take and make. But that was the love I had for the music. And I'm very fortunate that I continue to be a student all my life. I will be, because there's so much learning to do. But I'm very grateful to the Almighty for having given me the love for music, and to a family that supported and that continues to support, and my entire village of Minnesota and my world in India that's fostering this artist to continue her crazy, mad, passionate dream.
And we are grateful for all of that encouragement too, because we get to be the beneficiaries of hearing your wonderful playing. And so you brought us to the Veena, which is perfect, because now we want to hear you play the Veena as a solo piece. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to share with us?
The piece that I'm going to play for you is a completely improvised piece. So this music has never been played before and will never be played again, because it's going to happen right now. And that's it. That's the beauty of live music. And that's something we're all waiting to get back to enjoy with everybody live. So this is going to be a melody called Charukesi. And Charukesi, I'm going to explore a little bit of it melodically, but then I'm going to pulsate it melody with melody, but no composition that is written by any great composer. It's just yours truly creating what is called a thanam, which is an improvised composition. It's a very important element of Indian classical music.
Let's listen and enjoy this world premiere. That was simply beautiful, Nirmala. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it draws me to a question about the drone, because I noticed the drone is there in most of the Carnatic music. Tell us about its function and its role.
Thanks for asking about the drone, only because Shruti is named after the drone. The word Shruti means the pitch of music, and that is what the electronic instrument is miming, mimicking an actual instrument called the tanpura, which
Uh-huh.
looks like a veena held vertically and doesn't have the second chord. So if you can imagine this big bulb and the straight stem, and we play it like this: one, two, three, four. There's four strings on the tanpura, which is what the drone is about. Shruti Mata Laya Pita is a Sanskrit verse which means Shruti is the mother, and the basic pulse of the music is the father. And this is the dictum of Indian classical music, be it North Indian classical or South Indian. Carnatic music is South Indian classical. But the vitality and the importance of the drone is it's the mom, it's the mother. So without Shruti, there is no Indian classical music.
Shruti, you were destined to do what you're doing. I was going to ask how you found composition and music, but I know how now. You were born into it, as you said, from the womb. And so the interesting thing is you've made this journey, or I should say, you've been on this shared journey for a while, exploring, Carnatic music and Western classical music. Talk about the ebbs and flows of moving back and forth in between the two.
I have to say that my life overall is absolutely richer for having both of these idioms in my life. And it also reflects the fact that I'm Indian American and that diasporic identity is very important to me. So I can celebrate my culture and my family's culture and my community's culture when I'm doing Carnatic music. And I can celebrate the world that I also live in when I'm doing Western classical. And of course, those aren't, things that exist separately. They are always mixing and meshing together, and so does my music. I first was introduced to Western classical music as a piano student. And I also was very lucky to learn about it a lot from mom, actually. So she is a Carnatic traditional musician, but she does a lot of collaborative projects. And so, in addition to the sounds I was listening to growing up, I also was listening to musicians playing on the cello, on the clarinet, and all of these wonderful instruments. I really first had to come to terms with sight reading, though, when I was joining choirs. So I did a little bit when I was playing piano, but honestly, I was really just an oral musician. And because of the Carnatic tradition, quite a strong oral musician, so I was actually able to learn things by ear and, sort of fool my way through some of the basic lessons. But then when I was singing in a choir and there were people singing other things around me, I did have to, in fact, know my part and be able to stay on a part in the context of harmony. So that was another idea that was sort of new for me, because as you might have heard in the piece Mom just played, it's incredibly intricate melodic music, but it is primarily one melodic line that's brought in with a full texture of other sounds. It doesn't really have harmony in the way that we think of it in the Western classical sense. So even being able to hold a steady pitch in choirs was really, really hard for me if other people were moving at first. But I had fantastic mentors who took time, school directors who took time outside of rehearsal to help me to be able to find a slightly different register, because I sing sort of in the soprano range when I'm singing Western classical, and that's very different from the Carnatic register. But now I'm trying to create music that sort of exists between the two.
Exactly. And I love that you create this music. I call it a fusion, if you will, that brings the two styles into a relationship. And then what you create is something new and progressive and forward thinking. And so, Shruti, why don't you tell us about your composition? I believe you're going to share one of your art songs with us next, and you're going to play and sing at the same time. So tell us about it.
Yes, absolutely. The name of the song that I'll be playing is called Leaving Home, and the text is actually by Minnesotan poet Athena Kildegard. And I asked her for a set of 3 poems about a woman's sort of coming of age, including what it means to have this strong relationship with your home and your family, but also knowing that you need to go out into the world. So this piece is an example of sort of the two worlds I'm existing in. It's an art song, so it's written for any soprano. They could sing it. It's got a piano part, which I will attempt to play. I'm not used to accompanying myself. The situation has taught, the pandemic has allowed me to explore many new things, which is cool. But there are a few lines, there are a few ornamentations like this. I sing, that's a lot of that is influenced by the Carnatic grammar. So just a few hints of those two worlds of mine coming together in this one song.
Let's enjoy Leaving Home.
secure their futures. How does the earth turn but by gravity? How certain I am of loving you, Papa, and how certain, like the bee of leaving. Oh, what do I know of these desires? What do I know of these? Except it carries me out the narrow door, defying gravity, defying gravity.
Thank you for sharing Leaving Home with us, Shruti. It's such a beautiful text and a wonderful piece that you've composed. And I can think of the irony of it in the fact that, before the pandemic, you were overseas in London and you essentially rushed to leave your home there, your temporary home, to come back and spend this time in your permanent home with your family. I hope that's been a gift to be at home with your folks.
Absolutely. Any time I can spend with my mother is really precious, and it's been lovely to have this unexpected time with family. I'm sure you feel the same way, Philip.
I do. It's there's kids around all the time, and I love my kids. We learn how to work with them on our knees and laps and stuff. But it is a great gift and a privilege to be able to spend this time closely together. And it makes me think of seeing the two of you together. You are incredible artists who are women of color. And I imagine that you see yourselves as having a role to play in inspiring and encouraging other women to pursue the arts, or maybe music in particular. Can you say a little bit about your thoughts on that?
When Mom came over to Minnesota, and she had already lived abroad in a couple places, but the way things had worked out is that she always had thought they would go back to India. That was sort of, she left a week after her wedding, actually. That's an interesting story because my dad's job took them overseas rather unexpectedly. And then every time they kind of thought, we'll be back in India. Mom's a Carnatic musician, and she'd already, even at that age, she had a phenomenal career. And so it, in some ways, makes a lot of sense for a Carnatic musician to be in India for, playing Indian classical music for an Indian audience. But the thing that's so inspiring about Mom is that every place she's gone to, she's always interacted with her environment in such beautiful and fruitful ways. And that's why she is such a rich musician for it. Every situation, she has found a way to find her voice and to create something innovative. And that is just so, so inspiring. And to do it as a,
That's enough.
to do it as a mother, a working mother of two, with two young children who had many, many demands and needs too. It's just absolutely so inspiring. But I think what it is that she loves what she does and she believes in what she does. And so I think I've taken inspiration from that, and hopefully I can, start to do that in my own life. I'm just starting out. There's nothing really to say at that point. But I think even if I weren't a musician, I would be working in some field where I would be believing in my work, because that's what she's given me. That's a gift she's given both of her kids.
Whoa. You asked earlier about how does it feel to have your child back home. You see the benefits of that. You have your cheerleader right next to you. Shruti has been extremely kind, and so have you been, Philip. You've been saying some really beautiful things about me. I am just an ordinary, average woman with big dreams of love for music, love for the instrument, and that's all I really am. And the only thing I've really done, which I think is believe in the universe and go where the universe takes me. When I went to England, I don't know if you know this, but I have a bit of computer science in my background. My master's is in computer science, and I used to work about 16 years in that industry before I gave it all up about 12 years ago, or 13 years ago. But I just went with the flow. Since I began performing age 13, I went to school, did my master's in computer science, went to work, got married, had children. I didn't stop and think, can I do this? What is stopping me from doing it? So I have to be saying that the universe has been very kind to me in letting me live my dreams and just go with the flow. That's all I can say. I did not do anything special. Do you see a halo around my head? No, not at all. Shruti believes there is one, but there is none, actually. I just do what I do. And I have been loved by incredible people, from my grandpa and my family, my parents, my sister, my husband and my children, my friends who are more than friends, who are family to me, by your love, by people like, people that want to see this crazy woman. And when there is love given in that unconditional way, you can't but help embrace it big time with a huge hug, with both arms, and then say, give me more, and this is what I have to offer. And I'm blessed to have a daughter like this. I have an older boy, my son. He's not a boy, he's a man. He's a man of 28, aiming to finish his PhD, and we wish him all the best. And he's doing very well. He loves music. He actually raps. He played Western violin for 12 years and then played the guitar, and then now does hip hop and rapping, and he loves it. So coming from this kind of a home where none of that was possible, it happened because he saw it around the community in him. So we are just fortunate, very, very fortunate. So if people feel inspired about what they see in me, all they have to do is follow their heart, and the world will welcome you with open arms.
I thank you both for this gift of believing in what you do. That's something we can all take from you, for following the advice of the universe, and for just being such humble and gracious spirit. So I have learned to acknowledge. I like to say, the light in me acknowledges all the light and goodness in you as well. Thank you for this time together. Love to both of you. We're not too far apart, so pretty soon we'll be able to get together and have a meal and make some music. I don't know about you, everybody, but that was such an inspiring conversation, and just gives me that energy to get up again tomorrow and to go put my energy into the world to make it a better place in any way that I can. Ethan, let's bring you in. Wasn't that just an inspiring conversation?
It really was. That touched deep in my soul, listening to both of them speak about their musical upbringing, and sort of both of their individual paths and their paths that kind of came together. I mean, of course, being mother and daughter, but just how those two things intertwined. And as we have these conversations over this virtual platform, sometimes you can really feel that distance, but both of them, they bring you right in and they make you feel like you're there with them. And I'm looking forward to the hopeful day when we can actually be there together and I can meet them in person, because they're just fantastic.
Amen to that, Ethan. Thanks for all your help behind the scenes each and every week. And I'm fond of saying, friends, this may be a platform that is virtual, but we are very real people interacting in real ways, as Ethan has said. So let's continue to reach out to each other and connect with each other until we meet again. And we're going to leave you with a little more from Nirmala and Shruthi. This is a brand new piece the two of them have shared together. Shruthi wrote it just for you. See you next time, friends.